Remote work is a gift from God. I remember the first time I was on vacation in the summer. Normally, you'd have to do something called take paid leave. That's what most people do. So you can get paid while you're on vacation, not working. But I remember the first time I take a trip like I do, I just plan my trips whenever I want. And I woke up somewhere on vacation and I saw sales for $500, another one for $500, come in the morning. Now, work has not always been this way. If you think about remote work, it's a very, very recent invention and a recent innovation of modern day technology. Think about what you had to do in the past to earn your paycheck. Just go back like 30 years, okay? Or even further than that. You had to show up in an office, and before that you had to show up in labor, at the mines, fields, farming, and you had to be there in person, which means there was no mobility, there was no moving your jobs, there was no relocating to a different office. Where you were born was basically where you were at, and that's where you were going to stay. The ability to be economically mobile, to expand your options and horizons was not an option basically for like 99% of people who weren't in the upper class. You know what? People made it work. They made it work. They had families, they had kids, they had meaningful, dignified lives, because a lot of them did work that was dignifying in a large regard, as opposed to a day where a lot of people feel that they're doing fake paper pushing work. They've done surveys where like 60% of people feel like their job doesn't add anything to society. Totally crazy, and totally feeds into the idea that a lot of the economy, especially in the US, the service-based economy, as we went away from producing our own things, manufacturing our own things, going into service-based economies, a lot of the economy we have now is pretty fake. But that's not people's fault, okay? That's the problem of the superstructure, for sure. But for most of all of human existence, there was no such thing as remote work for 99% of people. But now you have average people who can get remote jobs, even if they're not super high paying, and a lot of them live wherever they want and use that to their advantage. And if you think about this concept, this is a magical way, a magical gift from God that you can use to leverage your life in the best way possible. You can earn US dollars. You can earn US dollars applying for a job in one city and live in a lower cost of living area, a place that you like better socially, whether it's its climate, its people, its culture. And that can be within the US. You can have a remote job, a company based out of New York, and live in Tennessee or Kansas somewhere where life's a little slower and a little better. Or you can take this to the max and you can live in a low cost of living country like Latin America, Asia, and really leverage those gains to a point where you're living a significantly higher quality of life than you'd ever be able to do if you were working in that city. And this has never been an option. Think about how cool this is. Think of how much this has freed up people's lives. Just the fact that you don't have to commute in every day to work. That alone, it's like massive. That's like 2 hours of your day every day, 5 days a week, 10 hours a week, compounded over 50 weeks a year, 500 hours. It's like 20 days a time. It's totally crazy. So just that alone has given you large swaths of your life and your time back to you. Now, I know not everyone is able or can work a remote job, as they're not super common as they were during the early 2020s, but they're still fairly common, and there's more opportunities to earn income online than ever before. It's not necessarily easy, but if you can work your way into this position, develop your skills, it certainly is possible. And it's certainly one of the best ways to leverage the time in your life and take advantage of the dollar still being strong and the economic opportunities of the US still being somewhat strong. Now, there's a couple disadvantages even to remote work. One, you're not a part of an office community like you were when you were going into the office before. You don't share that camaraderie. That's why you need to also make sure you have a strong group of friends, a strong social life. You're not just grinding life out on your own all the time. Okay, that's a really important aspect of this. And even if you're geo-arbitraging, so you're working for US dollars but living in a different country, there's a lot of guys who just stick to their bubble and don't really venture outside of it because they don't know the language. There's the challenges of being in a different country. You need to break out of that bubble and that barrier if you're doing remote work, you have your own business or something like that, because money isn't everything. Money and freedom isn't everything. It can be important, it can be really great, but it's not everything. So learning to do that as well and fight off that downside, I would say, of remote income is going to be really, really crucial. But overall, if you feel like you're out of luck economically, or in this economy, you feel like there's less opportunities than before, and a lot of people do have it rough. But just remember that we live in a time where you can have a great idea, start a business online, make money, and work from anywhere where you can have your dollar go further. To me, that's an incredible, amazing time, and I am thankful that I live in a time like that. Even with the struggles we have now, I want to give a hopeful message that this still, in a lot of ways, may be an amazing or the best time to be alive. So instead of just lamenting the fact that society is broken on a number of levels, be thankful for what does work, and be thankful for what can bring value to your life. But I think remote work is best utilized when it's paired with something like living abroad or geo-arbitraging. And that can be within the US or the West itself, or in a different country. But to take that money and or economic opportunity and freedom and go somewhere where the social climate is better, the dating climate is better, you're able to get more out of your life, is an opportunity we've never had in the history of humanity. So just be thankful about that for a second. Just thank God that we're able to live in a reality like that, and opportunities and freedom are presented to us in this way. In terms of the working remote stuff as well, I wanted to bring up the fact that just being in an office culture where you're constantly sitting around, constantly having people on your back, going to expensive, unhealthy company lunches. Yeah, the social aspect is cool, and I think that people could use more social interaction, of course, in their day-to-day life, but a lot of office culture can be a bit of brain rot and be kind of soul-sucking for a lot of people. So being able to avoid that and be able to track your own time, wake up more when you want to, not have to do a long commute, go to the gym for lunch if you want to do that instead. That's what I love doing. Instead of going to a big lunch or company lunch or something, I hit the gym instead. And be able to monitor your own hours and be your own man in that sense is kind of invaluable. Now that I've been working remote for a long time, being in charge of my own hours and things like that, I can't imagine going back. I can't imagine going to do the whole office thing. Now, when I work in Korea, I'm more in an office situation, but I'm a consultant. I can kind of be in charge of my own hours and what I do, but I don't want someone watching me. If I gotta go take a piss, I don't want someone watching my back to see how long it is. Okay, it's like I'm an adult. I should be able to do that without someone watching me. So that's a really undervalued aspect of working remote as well. Not only the the ability to change your location and geography, but just the overall freedom and release of stress in your life. Yes, if you work remote or you have your own business, is the stress of bringing in the income, and that's not coming guaranteed from an employer. But for me, and if you're resonating with this video, I think that trade-off is well worth it, in my opinion. So just consider that. If you are dealing with this whole, hey, I want to think about working remote in a different country, it's lower cost of living, which one should I go, which ones are good for dating as well, I have a free 6-part course in the description down below that kind of maps out a good exploratory trip or a good trial run that you could do in Latin America or Asia, and how to actually accomplish that and build a good life in another country. So check out that video series in the description down below. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can also contact me as well. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.